How's it going? These delays get longer and longer. I feel like now it's like 10, almost 15 seconds. Ridiculous. Anyway. Alright. I don't know who's in, but hello. Hope you're doing well. Today's a fantastic day. I got my black books made by Carl Jung. Those are super crazy books. I got to like page 22. I found myself reading like every single page at least 2 or 3 times. It's just interesting, like how Carl Jung thought. Like that dude was on something else for sure. Very cool stuff though. And I just ordered 2 more books to like kind of like supplement the ones that I have, because I'm finding there's some stuff that they're referencing that are, you know, things that he drew, and it would just be easier to be able to reference those, you know, while I'm reading it. So I'm kind of putting it on hold. Those books should be arriving like early next week. So really excited on that stuff. But I wanted to read this chapter with you guys today because there's a lot of crazy stuff, and this is just a real Tabata chapter. How's it going, final message? Tabata will do these things where like he'll give you the story, you know, he's not allergic to plot or anything like that, but when it comes to like some of the lore behind the content that he's creating, there will be these massive gaps and a lot of things that you need to do as a reader to make sure that you're like just like caught up on what he's trying to put down, because there's only a mention of something that spirals into something else entirely. And it, again, like if you guys, I'm sure you guys are coming from Twitter, so like I said, I haven't read anything past the first 2 panels of this chapter, and just within those 2 panels there's some pretty big stuff that we can look into. But one thing in particular that's really it's tying things together, and it's exciting because me, Wizard King Minato, and Broku have all had this thought of Asta being like a figure like Jesus Christ. And something was said in this chapter that kind of like it's such a weird side note in history, but it is in this chapter and we'll go over it, trust me. So I'm just super excited about that. I'm ready to just get started. I'm not going to wait for a ton of people to show up, because I've been holding off on reading this chapter already. So anyway, by the way, Sakamoto right there, that's our guy, Sakamoto. I need to catch up on Sakamoto days. I got so busy and I ended up only reading Black Clover, so I do have some time, so I should catch up on Sakamoto days. But Sakamoto days is a sleeper. It's really good, and it's not one of those series that you have to be like, your brain's got to be on 1,000 for every single page. It's just a straight, you know, in your face, awesome story. Really cool about assassins, if you guys are interested in that. So really cool story. Anyway, if you're not aware, the name of this chapter is the 5 Devas. We talked about Devas, you guys. This all has to do with the paths of reincarnation, or the 6 paths of pain, as anime fans are aware of it, which is lending into a thought that I had in these streams and on Twitter, how there are different levels of existence, and the people of Hino, or at least the Ryuzen specifically, might be on a different plane, and if I'm being specific, a higher plane of existence. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 streams ago when we talked about this, and I started to classify the groupings of characters that would fall under these realms. And in the Deva realm, I wasn't sure if I was going to put the people of Hino and the Ryus in there, or the elves. The thing about it is that, remember, when it comes to Devas and the paths of reincarnation, they are they live in bliss. They live for a very long time, not forever, but a very, very long time that could look like forever to a being such as a human. And they experience every moment as almost eternity. The things like time don't necessarily exist, although you could say that it does in a sense, because they do end up dying at some point. But generally, things like time don't exist, decay doesn't quite exist. And so they're able to enjoy and go through these emotions and mental states. And it's pure. It is ultimately just pure. But they do note that the Devas, when they experience something that brings them despair, they experience misery the most out of all of the realms of existence. Which means, if you let's just put it in terms of Black Clover, just so that we can put it, into context. If we take the elves, and this is something that I had put on my short last night. You take the elves, and although they seem like great beings, the thing is that they're not perfect. And the reason for it is because they have this imbalance of energy. And the balance is leaning all the way into, I will call it positive energy for now, but it's actually yang or yin energy, one of them. And so when they get corrupted and they experience that misery, they experience it the worst. So we see Patri, and Licht, for that matter, go into another state of existence that is the polar opposite of what they stood for and what they were. So now, all that happens is this imbalance of positive energy becomes an imbalance of negative energy. So they could be Devas. But here, in Hino, we have the Ryuzen, who kind of embody both of these things in one body. And we won't go over that again, really, because that seems like that's been the talking point for the last, I don't know how many streams now, and on Twitter as well. So if you're not up on that, definitely read about it on Twitter. I think I cover it pretty well there, or just listen to the other stuff. But they have both, so I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with them, but it seems as though Tabata has done it for us by calling the 5 Ryus in here, who he did in last stream label as the Godai, as Devas. So that's really, really important. So just in the title alone, theories are starting to get confirmed, and we can start running with more of the stuff, and it's not headcanon anymore. Anyway, let's... Can't even get into the first part, because we're just dropping gems right now. Okay, so they're saying that's the 5-headed dragon, it's friggin' huge, so the legend's true after all. So just very interesting that, like, they kind of took it the same way that the ancient demon was taken, more or less, I guess. Because at least there was a remnant of the ancient demon left for people to be like, oh yeah, that was definitely a real thing. But they seem pretty far removed from this. So that's interesting. If we didn't do the like the Shogun said and run to Honshu, we'd all be in a heap of trouble. But how they're going to deal with a monster like that? How are they going to deal with a monster like that? Okay, so this panel has a lot, you guys. So one of the main topics that we're going to go over is where these people are. And in the last stream, remember I had to debunk something I said on Twitter about how these people, or why these people are here and where Ryu is. So to answer both questions, it's right here. They're in Honshu. Now there's a legend of Honshu, where Honshu is actually the main island of 4. So while we have been told that Hino is such a great, well, not told, but we just assumed, Hino is a massive, massive deal, because Yami comes from there, and then we see like all of these Ryuzen and all that stuff, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that Hino is probably not the main source, or the main land that we should be worried about necessarily. But in fact, an island like Honshu or one of the other islands. But what makes Honshu great is it literally translates to main island. And it's the first island made in creation in Japanese lore that was made by the gods Izanagi and Izanami. And we'll talk about this because it's a very, very interesting side note in history that will go back into some theories about Asta and how he relates to a Christ-like figure. Very interesting stuff. Anyway, the Shogun and the Ryuzen 7 will find a way to handle it. Helix, how's it going? Glad you're here. And then I wonder though, I wonder if this is going to be called this water in between the lands. I wonder if that's going to be Lake Biwa. And I guess we'll kind of get into that later too, but just curious. But yeah, we had assumed that Ryu just on a mass scale did what he did with the mother and her child just before the bandit had, you know, came and tried to steal stuff from the people and all that. So that's definitely confirmed. But I also want you guys to look at like the time of day. And again, these are unofficials, so the scans are probably not the greatest. But remember, in just like the last 2 chapters, when they show Lily and the Paladins, they show the sun. They legitimately show the sun in a clear sky. Every time we go back to where like Ryu is, and we have to assume that these people are near Ryu right now, they don't see the sun. It's cloudy, just like Asa had pointed out. Hino's always cloudy is what he said. And this is what they're seeing. And they not one of them mention a paladin. Maybe they'll mention it later. Like I said, I haven't read the whole thing. But they don't mention seeing any paladins whatsoever. And that's kind of crazy. So, have to assume that they're under protection of the moon. Let's keep going. So here we're at the fight. Crazy Lady and her scythe-like kimono here that Rampage had pointed out, which I feel like she is utilizing it in that way, or can at least. Tries to get the drop on Lily. Lily gives her that. What does that mean of the frog that's just like winding up that punch? It's exactly that meme. Like not a single thing is different about it, other than the fact that it's not a frog. Tries to get her in that sacred space. I wonder where they would go, right? And you know what? Actually, when we talk about Honshu, Izanagi, and Izanami, we'll talk about why Asta might have landed here specifically. But very, very curious about what would happen if they were to get trapped in this. Like, would they go to the Four Kingdoms, maybe? Or was this, instance with Asta one-off? And that's something we might be able to answer today. So, yeah, it turns out that Ichika had pulled Crazy Girl, what's her name? Keizo Kaku. We're just going to call her Keizo. Pulls Keizo out with one of her stars, which is awesome. But imagine the force of that star, though. Like, I saw people like initially giving her the speed feat, right? Before dropping that panel of her getting saved by Ichika. That's a pretty massive speed feat, right? Because we'd assume Lily is pretty on point, right? Keizu would be right in here. But to be pulled out by one of Ichika's stars at a pretty safe distance, that's a pretty good feat. So those stars are the real deal. Which they should be, because they're black stars. Something I've talked about before. You always go too far when you're not thinking. And just those small things, like not thinking, that's important when it comes to being enlightened. And the fact that these guys are pretty much confirmed to be the Godai that we talked about, the protectors of Buddhism and the paths to enlightenment, are pretty big. Sorry, guys. Getting a call. Okay. My bad. Where are we at? So, yeah, I forgot what we were talking about. Anyway, let's keep going. Um, what marvelous magic power you have, but is it really alright for you to be paired against me? So, to be acknowledged by a paladin, that's pretty big, I guess. But still doesn't find that they're enough for her. Which is interesting, I guess. So the dragons are just running amok here. Trying to get Keizo. Throws a blast at it, which does definitely look like the blast that the ancient demons use in the Four Kingdoms. So, that is cool. Just waiting for that connection of exactly how they fit together. If you don't do something, the Five-Headed Dragon will destroy everything. So here's my thing that I both love and hate about the Paladin idea, right? Is that we're kind of fed this idea that Lucius is somewhat benevolent. And the fact of the matter is you have a moment like this where Paladin Lily is pretty much taking joy in the destruction of this land, right? Of people that she's never met before, that have done really nothing to anyone, especially in the Four Kingdoms. So to take joy in that, it's just really curious, like what exactly is happening behind the scenes with the Paladins. Anyway, that will not happen, for we are led by a lord who sees all. So now we get to this, which I'm really interested about because I didn't get around to translating this at all. The enemy is going to attack. War's about to break out in the land of the sun. I like that. Yikes. Okay. Goodness. I'm freaking out. Those are some good responses. I like that. The enemy will be Lucius's subordinates. They're called paladins. 3 of them, real skilled. Only you Ryuzen 7 can take them on. One of them is a water and spatial. So great. I love the fact that they confirmed that they will have 2 attributes. I mean, we all assumed it, but love to see that stuff in writing. So one of them is a water and spatial Yojutsu user, real troublesome. He really puts a note on her, and we can assume that it's the fact that she's got Beelzebub specifically at her disposal there. Another uses ice, and the last one probably has some kind of Yojutsu that lets him control magical beasts. So he doesn't quite know about Heath and this other guy. Who I'm ready for that reveal, like why he's important, why he was chosen to be a paladin. But anyway, the fact that he knows that Lily has water and spatial magic is a little bit odd, because she hasn't used any water magic at all since she's been a paladin, but is aware that Heath uses ice, and that this other unknown paladin has some type of beast magic, but is not aware of their other attributes. It is a little weird. So I'm wondering if that eye is connected to Beelzebub somehow, because there's no reason why just Lily should be the one that's identified and not Heath and the other one. Unless Lily is the only one out of these 2 that has a dual attribute, and I think that might be much more likely. What's going on, Claymore? And thank you. That could definitely be more of the case. But then more questions would rise from that as to like why only Lily can have a dual attribute and these 2 can't. And I guess like even if we want to go that route, we know that Heath canonically died, right? So maybe that death prevents him from using another type of magic. Hard to say, but just a very interesting panel altogether. Okay, so those guys are going to try to break the seal on the Five-Headed Dragon. We knew those were seals. From the looks of it, they'll be here by the morning. Then let's go and take them all down. So he says let's take them all down by the morning, but it is light as all hell out here. And there's a moon above Ryu that we're going to see right here. Nope, we have to save the people first. So, and look, by the morning, I just need to know the timeline right now. Because look at how light it is. And then look at where their shadows end up falling. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I do think that the sun and moon thing, like, I think that they are protected by the moon, and wherever Ryu goes, the moon is at least my thought for now, which we'll dive further into, of course. Okay. Then they say, then let's go take them all down now. Nope, let's take the people first. If we rush into a fight without any preparation, no matter where it is and how it goes down, there's going to be damage. I love the wisdom on this guy, right? Like, it's great to be able to see everything, to see things coming, but if you're not prepped for what's going to happen, like, we'll do it. We'll do it for them. Let's take Naruto, right? Sasuke has a Sharingan. He's able to predict the movements of people, right? And there's a moment where he fights Rock Lee, who's one of the fastest guys that he had encountered at that time. Rock Lee whoops his ass at the speed of light. And Sasuke was like, I could see his movements, but my body could not react. So that's when he learned that it's not enough to just have a Sharingan to see things coming. You have to train your body to be able to keep up with what you see. So that's essentially what he's saying. That's super tight. The enemy's even capable of bringing the dead back to life. Confirmed? Yo, that's crazy. So they can just... Well, I mean, like, though, we knew that Heath was, like, he was dead and all that, but, like, to say it outright like that. So now I need to know, like, who this guy is. Because clearly he had to have been dead. He had to have been dead before this. But just to say it outright like that, that's pretty nuts. So we're not limited to just living paladins, and I know a lot of people are compiling lists of, like, you know, people that could be brought back to life. So that's gonna be so nuts. Okay. Some of them might even get turned into paladins. God, it's crazy. So, okay. I'm wondering, because remember, we were kind of, like, confused as to, like, or at least me. I was confused about how, like, the Dark Triad were, like, how he was able to retrieve their bodies, especially Xenon. We saw Xenon, like, evaporate, like, no doubt about it. And then to be able to get Morris's body was pretty crazy too, but if they're able to just bring the dead back to life, and it might be in Lucius's, like, level of power right now, that he can only do so much when it comes to bringing someone back to life. And that, of course, would take a massive amount of energy, though. So, yeah, that's crazy to just get in writing like that. Above all else, we have to think about the lives of our people, and so we'll evacuate everyone from Goshu, then intercept the enemy in the land. I don't know if I remember anything about a Goshu, though. Huh. I wonder, is that like a real... I mean, I assume it's a real land. Yep, it is. Oh my goodness. Okay. Sorry, I looked it up on my phone. Because I don't want to spoil, like, some of the stuff that we'll go over, but we'll look at Goshu as well. And the fact that it linked directly to the 6 paths of reincarnation is insane, but expected. Alright, here we go. Along with the 5-headed dragon, the legendary monster that, like, almost destroyed the land of the sun. This character is a lot to deal with. Keizo says, are you really sure we can handle something like that? So, I like this. Like, just the vastly different but very distinct personalities. You know, crazy laugh here. This enemy is stronger than anything we faced before. Well, I believe in y'all, so you guys can beat him, can't you? So this is like a Yami thing, hyping up his Black Bulls, right? Where Yami's like, here now, you'll surpass your limits. And one specific instance I recall is Yami and Asta back in the cave, where Yami says, take on Voltos, you know, by yourself. And Asta kind of doubts him. He's like, I don't know if I can actually do that. Because at the time, Asta's still new, right? And Yami says something that I thought was so profound. For me, like, I just really liked it. It really gave me what his character was all about. He said, I don't assign missions to people that I don't think can do it. So he's telling Asta, like, yes, I know I'm asking something big of you, but I would not ask it if I didn't think you could do it. So he's just doing exactly what Yami does, and that's awesome. And they believe in him, just like the Black Bulls believe in Yami. So I like this. And I can't wait for these worlds to just collide and see exactly how similar they are and what it means to the story. After you went and said something like that to us, we had no choice but to beat them. Yeah, Keizo. Did she get hit in the face? Why is she all bruised up right there? Or is she transforming right now? Maybe it's one of the two. So she just dives into the mouth. It looks like, kind of, maybe? Oh, maybe not. Okay. Then she comes out as the fox. Oh yeah, it looks like she got hit. Where did she get hit though? I don't remember. Was it when this thing lodged out in me? Well, we didn't see a hit. Okay. Maybe it'll be clear in like the officials. Okay. So we got our scrolls out. She's got clouds on her scroll. Which, and I believe he's got clouds on his, or are those koi fish? One of the two. But these two definitely seem more like Oni. Him being the Fujin and her being Raijin. And it's kind of crazy that they don't have any specific transformation. His hair does grow longer, but that's about it. Okay. So it's the Snow Yojutsu, Blood-Stained Silver Fox. Earth Yojutsu, Wisdom King Buddhist Priest, love it. Wind Yojutsu, Gale Rakshasa. Those were those are what? Oh man, I'm blanking right now. Okay, so Rakshasa is something we're gonna look at. And they actually did a Zet. I would say it was just these two that did one. Cause yeah, that's what it looks like they did. Lightning Yojutsu, Vajra. So these are going into like Indian, which I mean, like, duh. If it has anything to do with enlightenment and Buddhism, but like we've been saying, of course it'll blend into Indian mythos, but it's pretty direct Indian mythos. I was not really expecting that in the series. So Vajra Yakshahime, fivefold dance. Okay, very cool, very cool. So she's just slicing and dicing this guy. Looks like she's got a kunai made of lightning here, which I like. That's cool. Especially, she's got a double kunai actually. You can see that back here. Very, very nice. Love it. Because yeah, the other guy, this guy, the one dude, was saying that like you need to be more like a ninja. His scroll is super cool though. I like it. His scroll kind of looks like Yami's grimoire though. Right? Just those fluid patterns. Okay. Then we have Dark Yojutsu. She does a Zet, and it's the Crescent Moon. Of course, it's just a slicing attack. And it's gone. Incredible. So these are the country's most powerful mages. Ryu believes in us, and so will never give in. And that's the end. Damn. Okay. This is a good chapter. Like, this is beyond a good chapter. Oh man. Yeah, this is crazy. Okay. So I guess let's start from the very top. So, back here. We know that the citizens of Hino are now in Honshu, which is one of 4 main islands in Japan. And this is It is important because it's not just one of four, it is the main island, the first island created, which were made by Izanami and Izanagi. And I told you guys towards the beginning that we talk about this, which we are about to right now, that Honshu has a very, very odd and particular little snippet in history that goes back to this idea that Asta could represent a more Christ-like figure. So, let's just kind of get into it. So this is from the New Yorker. And it just wild stuff in and out, like from this symbol, right? Onto the actual legend. So I'll just read it to you guys. It says, Japanese legend says Jesus escaped to Orient. Tokyo, a Japanese legend, has excited some curiosity here that Jesus did not die on the cross outside Jerusalem, but lived in a remote village on the northern part of the Japanese island of Honshu until his death at 106 years of age. Jesus, so the legend runs, first arrived in Japan at the age of 21. He had walked because obscurely his father had told him to. At last he came to the land of Wa. The sage Echu took him in and taught him many things. This part is really important. That dual consciousness was not to be avoided, but desired. Only duality reflected the universe. Is that not what we've been talking about? Like, these entire streams about how the Ryuzen have very distinct personalities that range, if we're taking Keizo, from very timid to extremely crazy. And then the happy big Buddha guy, super pleasant to very, very angry type of being when he releases that power, right? And and we explained in the last stream that it's not just because they have good and evil. It's the fact that they use the evil vehicle to protect against evil, if that makes sense. But the fact that this sage was telling Jesus in this legend that dual existence is to be strived for is pretty big. Both in context of Black Clover and just in general, if you're studying like theology and stuff like that, we know that the entire time through Jesus' journey, he was accompanied by Lucifer, who was tempting him to give up his soul in exchange for the world. But he never ended up doing that. But that is ultimately just the dual side of Jesus. It's insane that this is even a thing. I never knew about this. But anyway, let's see. Okay, so dual consciousness was not to be avoided but desired. Only duality reflected the universe. That the mountains wait to be moved by the touch of a child. And many more such things he later preached and forgot. Jesus returned to Jerusalem to tell his own people of his experiences in the Orient. There had been nails in the palms and a crying out, and then a dark coolness and a scarlet down near the borders of Palestine. The legend has it that he landed at Achinoe, in Al-Mordi and settled in Hirai. Don't know where any of those places are. He married and became the father of 3 daughters. Things returned from in circles, unravel and re-ravel, the sage had insisted. Jesus had argued, insisting that there were also a vertical principle in the world, something thrusting which did not repeat. Now, himself ancient, he had come to live the sage's scorn true. He lived in the village as a healer, and the healed kept coming back to him. Their health unraveled, at last to die, even as he must. Whatever the case, he never doubted that he was unique, the only Son of God. In this, at least, he resembled all men. It's just interesting, right? I mean, it's the craziest connection. And like I said, I was not completely aware of this, not the island by name. I knew that Izanagi and Izanami made an island or islands. The same with Amaterasu and all of them, but did not know any of this legend, and it's insane. Broke you, Asta Christ? Absolutely. This is it's just crazy that it connects like this. And we have to assume it's on purpose. So something else I wanted to talk about is just something I found, again, goes with Honshu, and this is called the Killing Stone. Um, I just thought it's a cool little tidbit to add into all of this. Um, get rid of this ad. So here, very short. A famous stone in the mountains of central Honshu Island has split in two. And they're talking about it recent again, but just stuff to throw on. And that's an extremely bad omen, according to ancient Japanese mythology. Legends say that the Seisho Seki, or the Killing Stone, contained the transformed corpse of Tomomo no Mae, a woman who was possessed by an evil nine-tailed fox spirit many centuries ago. The shape-shifting Kitsune spirit, the most notorious of its kind, was part of a plot to kill Emperor Toba, which is what legends say. According to folklore, the volcanic rock releases a poisonous gas that kills anybody who approaches it. The stone, which was declared a historical site in 1957, has played a major role in books and plays over the centuries. This is now it's just talking about like visitors go in there and all that stuff. Let's see. This part says tourists flocked to the site after hearing news of the rock split, with one saying they felt like they had seen something that shouldn't be seen. Very cool. But if you guys remember, like this word in particular, the seki, right? I had talked about Ryu's eye being something called like a seki, which is found in Bleach as well, which is something that had more or less protected any society using the stone, where souls cannot freely travel in or out of something protected by this stone. So now the stone is broken, and it was, what did they say? That it releases poisonous gases? We say, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the volcanic rock releases a poisonous gas that kills anybody who approaches the stone. So I'm wondering, like, you know, and I just want to, like, always put things into context when I can. If the clouds we see over Hina are not actually like clouds, but they're like poison clouds, to kind of more or less kill things that, you know, that might try to come into contact with Hino. Yeah, I don't know. But I just found this, like I said, I wanted to share it. Thought it was pretty interesting to throw in to all of that. And it looks like I've got one more. Very short thing. And this just talks about, so it says, according to the Kojiki, this island, or Honshu, was the last of the great land of eightfold isles made by the spirits. These not, oh, they have it as the last, so it's usually called the first. But this is inhabited by the spirit. Okay, let's all try to read this together. Ameno miso rato yo akitsunewake. Yep. Mm-hmm. So the Nihongi gives this island the name of Oho Yamato no Toyo Akitsushima. Yeah. Native Japanese speaker right here, you guys. So stating it was the first of these 8. Oh, there we go. Stating it was the first of these 8 islands to be created by these spirits. Just kind of want to look at this. Broken people are gonna hate your theory next week. Jesus Asta Christ confirmed theory. They better not hate it. That dude. There's been so many things throughout the entire series that point to Asta being, you know, pretty much Jesus in this series. You know, from his birth to, like, you know, purifying pottery and all that stuff. I mean, it's literally Jesus. I don't know what to tell people. No, I'm not gonna say his name. God. So, I guess this is what it means literally. So this huge ass name means Little Lord Plentiful Autumns filling heaven's mighty firmament. Okay. So this was the child of Izanami and Izanagi, and is said to be the kami of the island of Honshu, the final of the Great Eight Isles, according to the Kojiki. Okay. So, from this, I had kind of been wondering, like, if this is the case, then I wonder if Ryu could be the son of Izanami and Izanagi. Very tough to say, because I am aware of the fact that I think it was Izanagi ends up coming from hell in this endeavor to, you know, bring back or at least visit his wife Izanami, who's also his sister, and finds that she's like pretty much decaying but still living, so she looks crazy bad, and he runs away from her. And this is why we have these peach, like, you know, things. We'll look at like Japanese infrastructure. I'll show you guys. What I'm talking about here. So, no. Let's look at a temple. So you'll see on like Japanese buildings or little totem monuments, if you will, that they'll have this peach-like thing. But what the fuck is it? That's like, I'm just making stuff up. We'll just put on peach, and hopefully, like, no pictures of someone's ass shows up on here. Okay. Not what I'm looking for at all. Anyway, I feel like you guys would probably understand what I'm talking about anyway, without having to see it. But, this, right here. Okay, so it's not always like this. It's usually colored gold, but I don't know why I'm having such a hard time finding it. But anyway, this at the very top is supposed to resemble a peach. And the reason for it is because when Izanagi was running away from Izanami, Izanami chases Izanagi out of this cave that pretty much is hell. And behind Izanami are a bunch of hungry ghosts, which we should know is one of the other levels of reincarnation. It's in the hell realms, of course. Is running after Izanagi. And Izanagi had no other plan when he escaped the cave, but he was like throwing peaches at them because that was the nearest thing to him. So now peaches resemble something like, you know, protection against evil and stuff like that. So they put it on their monuments. But he ends up trapping her by placing a boulder in front of that cave. And then after he does this, he goes into the ocean, and then he purifies himself, really, to wash himself of all of that hell gunk that he had on him, I guess. And this is where all the other gods are born. So when he's washing, I believe it's the left eye, Amaterasu is born, the sun goddess, while he washes his right eye, and and then Tsukuyomi is born. So now we have sun and moon, and then Susanoo is born from him washing his nose, and the other gods are born from other stuff. But those are the three main ones there. So very, very, very cool. And the fact that we read this thing about the killing stone, right? And the fact that we know that a stone was placed in the entrance of a cave, you know, it makes me wonder, like, this could very well be another relevant thing that we talk about that could become canon inside of the series. Samuel, it's Asta. I don't know if I'm reading your message correctly, Sam, but what I'm reading is Asta actually Christ or something else? I hope I'm reading or reforming what you said right. I would say yes or no. Is he going to be rolled out as Jesus? No. He's going to be Asta. But is his story going to be very similar? Yeah, absolutely. Can Asta and Liebe purify themselves? So I have a lot of videos on purification. I think, yes, it'll ultimately come down to them being purified, either one or the other, if not both. Um, and it actually goes along with Izanagi, so let's talk about it. We'll look up the. There we go. Let's see. Britannica is usually okay. They are very short, but pretty precise. Um, but the rituals of purification come from Izanagi and Izanami. So we will absolutely see this. And this is something that we talked about. I think it was our first or second stream when Hino was formally introduced. So very cool. Very, very cool. Let me read through this to make sure I'm in the right place. Okay, yeah, we are. Great. So let's read up on our lore about Izanagi and Izanami, because it more than likely will show up in the story along with Amaterasu. We've already got Benzaiden. It seems that Tabata is really going in, because these are the origins of everything. So just like we said last stream, we might be heading back into the origins of magic and really just the universe itself. So this says Izanagi and Izanami means he who invites and she who invites. So something I said earlier in the stream was kind of questioning how Asta got to Hino and whether or not that was on purpose. And we had an instance where Lily tries to get Keizo inside of this sacred space, but the question is, what exactly what would happen? Would they get sent to the Four Kingdoms? Would they go somewhere else? Would they die like they're supposed to? Because Asta's experience was just fundamentally supposed to be different because of who he is. What happened here? So, if we take Ryu being related to Izanagi and Izanami, and we say their names mean he who invites and she who invites, maybe he simply invited Asta with some type of power to be able to influence where he goes, right? Just something to think about. In full, Izanagi no Mikoto and Izanami no Mikoto, the central deities, or kami, in the Japanese creation myth. They were the 8th pair of brother and sister gods to appear after heaven and earth separated out of chaos. This is big, right? Because we know that there was a Zen that's split the sky, is what they said. But there, in Japanese creation myth, they make it seem that the sky and the earth were once one, and then they were separated. So very interesting in and of itself. But then they go on to say that they were separated out of chaos. Now, if you go back, and I always reference this video because I think that was probably my most solid video on my channel, like to this day, that I can keep referencing because it has everything. Chaos seems to resemble anti-magic, because chaos is exactly what things are born out of and where things go to die. And this is, even through reincarnation, this is where you go, through chaos. In chaos, there is still order, even though it's labeled chaos. There is an amount of order that it has to be able to, uphold the universe and keep the infrastructure of it up. So really cool stuff. I think it will end up going back to anti-magic, and it's no accident that Asta's Devil Union turns into a suit of armor, akin to something that we see with Ichika, right? It looks like he belongs in Hino with that armor. His hair even goes black. That's not something that is typical of a devil user. And again, I have to point out, the only time we saw a hair change was with Vonica, where her hair turned white, and the reason for that is because Megicula's hair was white. Libe's hair is not black, obviously, and Asta's hair is not black either. So there's more than what meets the eye to this union. And I do think it has to do with Asta having some type of, what did we call it last stream? I think we called it a satiety, but it's the most accurate term that DC and Marvel had coined was absolute existence, where he has complete and total control over himself. It's self omnipotence. And so that union is more than what we see with Noct. Not to really say that what a triad does is a union, but I guess it could be a type of union. And why it's just fundamentally different. And we could even go the route, like someone could argue that it's because he has a 50-50 contract with Liu Bei, which, again, can't be proven or disproven at the moment. It could definitely be a solid argument. However, I just don't see it that way. There's something with Anasta that he's able to tap into, the deeper side of things, to different souls. So, especially when it's directly connected to him, which he uses his swords as a medium for that. Just crazy stuff. Anyway, the two decided that they wished to unite, often interpreted as marriage, but their first attempt at sexual union resulted in a deformed child, Haruko, or leech child, known in later Shinto mythology as the god Abisu. Now, I wonder why they had a deformed child. Being brother and sister. Incest is bad, you guys. And they set him adrift in a boat. Kind of sounds like Yanni, but he ain't no leech child. Attributing the mistake to a ritual error on the part of Izanami, who, as a woman, should never have spoken first, they began again and produced numerous islands and deities. That's an old way of thinking. Women can speak whenever they want to. In the act of giving birth to the fire god, Kagutsuchi, or Hamutsubi, Izanami was fatally burned and went to Yomi and the land of darkness. The grief-stricken Izanagi followed her there, but she had eaten the food of that place and could not leave. She became angry. So, I like this. Let's just spitball some stuff, right? Because one of the most interesting devils in Black Clover has yet to rear her head. And what if it's like Megicula, right? And I have this thumbnail because I think it's gonna happen. I really do. Lucius. Where I have Lucius standing in front of a tree, holding a devil core, right? And I'm wondering if we'll see something like this, because Garden of Eden plays a huge role in lore in general. While it might not be called the Garden of Eden, they have places that can be directly connected. So, as below, or as above, so below. So if we have these forbidden fruit here, the fallen Garden of Eden, remember there are 3, would have other fruit. And in Black Clover, that could definitely be devil cores. So I'm just banking on something like that to be shown, and it would be even cooler if Megicula was Izanami in a sense. I don't know. It's hard trying to connect these things, but we'll talk about something that also makes me think that Ryu could have sacrificed his eye, much like Odin did, bringing us back to Norse mythology to be able to do the stuff that he does. Anyway, let's keep going. She became angry when he lit a fire and saw her rotting and covered with maggots. I mean, we could say Megicula's maybe covered in demonic maggots. I don't know. It just looks crazy. A horrified Izanagi fled with a host of women, and then Izanami herself in pursuit. After reaching the entrance to Yomi, Izanagi placed a stone across it, thus sealing in Izanami and breaking their union. Izanagi bathed in the sea to purify himself from contact with the dead. As he bathed, a number of deities came into being. The sun goddess Amaterasu was born from his left eye, the moon god Tsukuyomi was born from his right eye, and the storm god Susanoo was born from his nose. In the Shinto religion, Izanagi's bath is regarded as the founding of Harai, the important ritual purification practices of Shinto. And we actually did talk about Harai in a past stream. But here we go. Here's what Harai is. Or all of its other names. Harai, Barai. Any of numerous Shinto purification ceremonies is what they are. Harai rites and similar misogi exercises using water cleanse the individual so that he may approach a deity or sacred power, Kami. Salt, water, and fire are the principal purificatory agents. Like that salt is there with water and fire. These are just straight up, that's alchemy right there. Many of the rites, such as bathing in cold water, are traditionally explained as the method used by Izanagi, the mythical male creator of Japan, to rid himself of the polluting effect of seeing the decaying body of his wife and sister, Izanami, in the land of the dead. The rites are observed to some degree before entering a temple, taking part in worship, beginning a festival, or taking out a religious procession. The simpler rites consist of washing the hands or rinsing the mouth, or having the priest shake over the worshiper the Harai Gushi, which is a wooden wand to which are attached folds of paper. Priests participating in public ceremonies are required to undergo much more extensive purification periods in which they must regulate the body, bathing, diet, abstention from stimulants, heart, environment, and soul. Great purification ceremonies called Oharai are held regularly twice a year on June 30th and December 31st, so coming up, and at times of national disasters to purge the entire country from sins and impurities. So that we did talk about. That was along with the Torii Gates. Really, really fun stuff. But I want to, before I end up forgetting later on in the stream, there's another island mentioned. It started with a B. Actually, let's see if we can find it this way. What were the 8, what they call them? The 8 Fold Islands or something? The Great 8 Islands. I guess we'll just look at this. Okay. So the Great 8 Fold Isles. Okay, it was 8 Fold. Is the collective name for the 8 islands created by Izanami and Izanagi when they created Japan. The term, okay, whatever. So the first 8 islands made related in Kojiki are Awajishima, Iyo, Okigashima, Tsukushi, Ikinoshima, Tsushima, Sado Island, and Yamato. Oh, this is gonna be a pain because now I'm willing to bet that Tabata is not gonna use any of these names, or rather these can be translated into different things, so it's gonna be a bitch and a half to try and like figure out which one is which, but I guess hopefully they do the work for us. Shoot. That's tough. Okay, so we want the Great 8 Fold Islands. Zeldapedia. Wow. Look at that. I should say Japan. Okay. Sam, can Asta defeat the 5-headed dragon with his Zetten? Dude, he should probably be able to do it with just anti-magic, but I'm sure he'll use Zetten to take it down if he comes back. Okay, that did not help one bit. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. So I'll just look back at the... Oh, that's not TCB. There you go. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Did I pass it already? Okay. What was that island's name? It was like Boneshoe? No, I'm just putting a B in front of Honeshoe. It was Goshu. Okay. Let's see if there's any legends of Goshu. It's already on the wiki for Black Clover? Okay. What do they have? That's great. These guys work so fast. I want to know, like, what the... Oh, no. So, this is just a broad overview. Okay. I was going to say, damn. They went all out. That's a kickboxer. So, no legends. And we already see, like, Black Clover stuff up. So... let's see if there's anything more specific. Oh wait, didn't I just look it up on my phone and I did find something? What did I look up? Okay. Yeah. Oh, I think I mean shoe. No. Go shoe. Yeah, let's look at this. Okay. Gosu, which I guess we can say also Goshu, means something in Hinduism. What? Okay, it means pride. Why would they say it means something in Hinduism? Like, duh, it means something. I thought I was stupid. That was the stupidest thing I've ever read. Anyway, it's supposed to be an official website. Why would you put that in there? Okay. If you want to know the exact meaning, history, etymology, or English translation of the term, wow, okay, that was so dumb. Why didn't they just delete this when they finally figured it out? Okay, anyway, it means pride. It's one of the exogamous septs among the Telugu section of the... Oh, what are these? The Vangas, a caste of weavers. The Devangas speaking Telugu or Kannarese are found all over Madra's presidency. What? This has to be all Indian stuff. Which I'm not familiar with pretty much at all. So, Devanga is composed of Deva and Angam, which is the limb of God. Okay. So this is giving me, like, it's screaming Bleach to me right now. Because remember, they have, like, God's right and left hand or something. That's what it sounds like. It's a limb of God. And, of course, we got Devas. And you know that those 5 fighting right now are regarded as the 5 Devas. So that's cool. I wonder if I can find anything better. Why did this pop up, though? Is my question. Because I don't see it in the thing. Let's see. Go shoot. Okay. So here, what does this paragraph say? So these can be combined with the 6 realms to form the 10 realms. Oh, okay. So these are the 6 realms. We've actually looked at this exact page. Buddhists provide 4 additional realms for enlightened beings. Okay. So this is probably somewhere where they're at, right? And we've been saying that the Ryuzen are bodhisattvas or bosatsus. So they're in the upper echelon of the heavenly realms here. Okay. Sorry, I keep getting calls. Jesus. Broku, did you read the notes left by translation team after? No, I didn't. Is it on the thing? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. The place where all the citizens of the Land of the Sun were moved to by Ryu and the Ryuzen and Honshu is the largest and most populous island of Japan, along with the map of the country depicted in chapter 344. It appears Tabata is making the Hino country a one-to-one recreation of the world, real-world Japan by using the same real-world names for the islands. Keizo Zetten spell, Snow Yujutsu. Is that confirmed Zetten? Why was Zetten only on the 2, the lightning and the wind Ryuzen's page? I mean, I guess they were the last. Okay, interesting. Anyway, it appears to be a transformation referencing the Japanese folktale about the Snow White Inari. What's up? Is that not what I was saying, like, during Leak Night right there? Our Snow White Inari fox, which was hunted for its blood. Also a reference to General Kitsune, who are in legend known to be tricksters, referring to their change of personality. Daizamon Zetten's spell, Earth Yojutsu, Wisdom King Buddhist priest, appears to be a reference to Akala, aka whatever in Chinese. That does not look like Chinese, by the way, you guys. That looks like Vietnamese. That's not Chinese, actually. What? Oh, sorry. That's Sanskrit. Okay. Wait, no. Sanskrit is Akala, because I did read about him. But that's not Chinese, so that's not accurate. That looks like Vietnamese, because these are not the character groupings of Chinese. Or at least I don't think so. Anyway, aka Fudomio Japanese, right? And we talked about Fudomio last stream. And then, which is a wrathful deity and protector of the Dharma. Yes, we've talked about all of this stuff. In East Asian esoteric Buddhism, Akala is classed among the wisdom kings and is preeminent among the 5 wisdom kings. The deity was initially known as the noble, immovable lord, later known as the violent one of Great Wrath. We talked about this exact thing last stream. Love it. Jozo Zetten spell. Oh, is that his name, Jozo? Easy. Okay. Oh, cool. Because maybe they'll explain the Raksha part. Rakshasa. Because I remember this, but I can't remember exactly what it is. Is a reference to the exact thing. That's okay. A race of demigods prominently featured in Hindu mythology. They are often depicted to be man-eaters, acting as embodiments of the powers of evil in Hindu scriptures, as well as in Buddhism and Jainism, which I have a video coming about this subject in particular. Still looking into it, but it's crazy. Jainism, I'm wondering how much about it we'll get into it, but it seems like he's already been pretty much like neck deep into that philosophy. So maybe we'll look it up on the stream, but I do have a video planned. Imari Zetten spell, Lightning Yojutsu, Vajra Yakshahime, fivefold dance, is a combination of 2 references. Vajra is a reference to the weapon of the god Indra. Oh, okay. The king of the Devas in Hindu mythology. He's associated with the sky, lightning, weather, and war. That sounds like our boy Beelzebub, though. Just saying. The Yakshas are a broad class of nature spirits, usually benevolent, but sometimes mischievous or capricious. Oh, Capri Sun. Connected with water, fertility, trees. In Buddhist literature, the Yaksha are the attendants of Vaishravana, the guardian of the northern quarter, a beneficent god who protects the righteous. As such, Yakshahime could be translated as princess of Yaksha. The Yaksha also form a kinship with the Rakshasas. That's where I'm getting it from, because this was in Berserk. That's the only reason why I know this word. Okay. In legend, the king of both races shared a single father, making them half brothers. Very cool. But like 3/4 of the stuff we did just nail on the head, so that's awesome. These two though, very interesting characters. Kind of just makes me wonder more, like exactly what's going on with the other 2 Ryuzen, where they fit in. But yeah, cool stuff. What were we talking about? Okay, Goshu. Okay, so the concept of reincarnation in the realms originated with Indian ideas of 5 realms, which is Goshu, which excluded the Ashura. Wait, there's 8 islands. So wait, hold on. So if there's 8 islands, there's 8 main mages in Hino, which start with Ryu as the Shogun. So I wonder if the other 7 look after these lands, and these lands have more or less different ways at looking at magic and just life in general. Okay, anyway, Goshi means 5, or has the 5 realms, okay, which excluded the Asura realm, which is cool. I like that, actually. Early Indian depictions of the 5 realms are found at the Ajanta, such as cave number 17. Okay. That's the only mention of Goshu, though. So that's crazy that we just get pulled up as Gosu mentioned. No, not really. Okay. Okay. Anything else about this land that we should know about in particular, though? Doesn't really look like it. I don't know what Shu is. What is this? Oh, okay. Egyptian mythology. Okay, yeah, that's Goshu then. Go back. Let's see what else we can muster up here. Blah, we got that. Okay. Great. No, I don't think we missed much. So I guess as a teaser to like let's look at this because it has some really some very cool ideas and just ways of thinking in general, right? There's a lot, like I said, it's there's a lot to look at. Definitely suggest you guys do your own research, of course, but I just wanted to talk about these two things, right? Samsara, if you don't know already, is just the paths of reincarnation. So there's that. And then, of course, the soul and karma. We have talked about how in Buddhism, when it comes to samsara, it's the word karma is pretty much interchangeable with merit. And you're able to transfer merit to other beings in other realms. And it comes off most particularly as like prayer and worship. But here we go. Let's talk about the soul and karma first in Jainism. According to Jainism, the existence of a bound and ever-changing soul is a self-evident truth, an axiom which does not need to be proven. It maintains that there are numerous souls, but every one of them has three qualities. This is something we talked about yesterday, no, 2 days ago, right, in the last stream about how there's the Nirvana Buddha, the Dhyana Buddha, and the other one I'm forgetting, but it's the tripartite Buddha. So Nirvana Buddha is the singular, the one pure Buddha. Dhyana is the dual-natured Buddha that we see with the Ryuzen. And then the last one is the tripartite one that has three parts to his existence. They're talking about how each soul has three parts. And just like we were saying in that stream as well, when it comes to most things, religion or philosophies, any school of thought, you're going to find some type of trinity. And even back in ancient Egypt, the soul was as little as 3 and up to, I think, 15 or somewhere in the mid-20s. So the thought over time is that there's more than just one soul. But yeah, anyway. But every one of them has three qualities. In Jainism, guna is consciousness. Chaitanya, the most important. Okay. Great. Okay. So the guna is the most important, I guess. Is that how I'm supposed to read it? Their parentheses are throwing me off pretty hard here. And then there's bliss, sukha, and vibrational energy, virya. It further claims the vibration draws karmic particles to the soul and creates bondages, but is also what adds merit or demerit to the soul. Jain texts state that souls exist as clothed with material bodies, where it entirely fills up the body. Karma, as in the other Indian religions, connotes, in Jainism, the universal cause and effect law. Now, this is the big thing we were talking about last stream, right, a couple days ago, is that if Aksa has this power of aseity or self-omnipotence, he is not bound by cause and effect. Thus is why he's able to carve his own way through destiny and fate and why in these small instances and throughout the series, he's literally yelling at fate and destiny. But he's had to carve his own path in this life because fate cannot recognize him since he has no magic to be recognized by. However, it is envisioned as a material substance or subtle matter that can bind to the soul, travel with the soul in bound form, form between rebirths, and affect the suffering and happiness experienced by the jiva and the locus. Karma is believed to obscure and obstruct the innate nature and striving of the soul, as well as its spiritual potential in next rebirth. So, I'm really attached to the idea of merit playing a more profound role in not just racking up credit for people to acknowledge you by. This is something that the universe acknowledges you by, and will place you accordingly. So the more merit you rack up, the higher the realm that you go. And remember, the goalpost is slightly shifted because out of the 6 realms, if you go too far, if you go into the Deva realm, you are now pretty much in one of the worst positions to reach enlightenment. And that's really a crazy thought to think about. Because remember, when they fall hard. And it seems as though it looks more like our elves in this series, right? But it's the human realm that every existence aware of this karmic cycle and aware that they need to escape samsara entirely. The aim is the human realm, where we're not too attached to our desires or any predisposition belief in general, and thus are able to detach more easily from desires and just the physical realm in general. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Helix, I really think the dragon heads are going to grow back, and it'll be Asta's purpose to actually slay it, probably. Samuel, can Asta use Ishiga's form? Probably not that exact form, but I mean, he's pretty much got, like, something pretty close to it already, so, yeah. Don't think we need to read about Samsara. I mean, should we? I don't know. We can go back to if you guys want to. If anyone does want to read about it right now, just let me know. But let's talk about the maybe let's not talk about cosmology. Let's talk about God for a minute right here. So here, the Jainism belief in God is a trans-theistic Jainism is a trans-theistic religion, holding that the universe was not created and will exist forever. It is independent, having no creator, governor, judge, or destroyer. In this, it is unlike the Abrahamic religions that were theistic strains of Hinduism, but similar to Buddhism. However, Jainism believes in the world of heavenly and hell beings who are born, die, and are reborn like earthly beings. The souls who live happily in the body of a heavenly celestial do so because of their positive karma. It is further stated that they possess a more transcendent knowledge about material things and can anticipate events in the human realms. Sounds like some people we know, I think. However, once their past karmic merit is exhausted, it is explained that their souls are reborn again as humans, animals, or other beings. The perfect enlightened souls with a body are called arihants, or victors, and perfect souls without a body are called siddhas, or liberated souls. Only a soul with human bodies can attain enlightenment and liberation. So that's just like we were saying just before this. The goal is to achieve a human body so that you can attain enlightenment, which is escaping samsara. The liberated beings are the supreme beings and are worshipped by all heavenly, earthly, and hellish beings who aspire to attain liberation themselves. So I will say this, not to spoil much. You might spoil enough. Lucifer may be one of these things. And the fact that they say that heavenly, earthly, and hellish beings aspire to attain this liberation, right? And that the supreme beings are worshipped by all of them. Uh, Lucifer has been worshipped by all of the above, and I don't know. I'm really thinking that at some point, and the only thing that I'm confused about is, or that I need clarification on, is exactly what Tabata plans to do with like the Ryus and Sevens dual states of existence that are blatantly obvious at this point, and try to connect that to Asta and Liebe to see if they either part ways, because there's enough room in the story that, you know, Liebe could be his own separate entity and do his thing while Asta does his thing, but both still working towards a common goal, or that they both come together and have a perfect union, which means they never come apart, and create the being that maybe they once were or supposed to be. So it's, if any of those happens, I do think at least one of them will turn out to be Lucifer. And as we've known through studying like the Tree of Life, the Clipbot especially, Lucifer had liberated himself, technically, from the Clipbot. I only say technically, it was only because it was Beelzebub who allowed him to do this. But I guess since it's short and it kind of connects to this, we have salvation and liberation. So the purification of soul and liberation can be achieved through the path of 4 jewels. We've talked about 4 jewels, you guys. This was where I connected Ryu's eye with something found in Inuyasha, which is the sacred jewel shard, or the Shikon jewel, which is literally translated to 4 jewels. So Samyak Darsana, which I guess means correct view, meaning faith, acceptance of the truth of soul. Okay, great. What are we saying here? Behavior consistent with 5 vows. Okay, Jain texts often add that correct asceticism as a 4th jewel. Oh, they're talking about the 4 jewels. Okay, so the first jewel would be correct view. The next one is Jiva, correct knowledge, and then correct conduct, meaning behavior consistent with the 5 vows. Jain texts often add Samyak Tapt, which is correct asceticism, as a 4th jewel, emphasizing belief in ascetic practices as the means to liberation. The 4 jewels are called Moksha Marg, which is the path of liberation. But yeah, it's a big topic, and like I said, I'm still looking into it myself, but as you can see, it's very relevant to the stuff that we've been talking about that probably does more or less connect with Black Clover directly. So I mean, I think that's really all I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Oh, look, I went up 1 follower. So I mean, unless there's anything you guys want to talk about, I think I'm good to sign off. Look at this. This is like my least favorite feature right now. Look at how many people looked at this and aired me out. This is what happened. But yeah, I think that's all I really want to talk about. I did like this. For those of you that don't know, somehow, I've got all the collections of Carl Jung's, some of his last journal entries, where he confronts his unconscious and more, his soul. And he's interpreting his dreams in the part that I'm reading in part 1. And he's saying that the sun is consciousness. And you look at Carl Jung, he's always associated the sun with consciousness and the moon with unconsciousness. So just very interesting. And to connect it to Black Clover, I'm wondering if Ryu had his eye patch on in this moment. So I want to say he maybe didn't. And then we have this scene where he's got the moon above him, and every time you see Ryu now is, of course, with an eye patch on, and the moon is somehow up all the time. So, just some cool stuff. You know, we have the Dark Triad. That's dark psychology. It all plays a part. But yeah, we talked about this. The time of day is crazy. Yeah, we talked about pretty much most of the stuff. But I would suggest, and I'll do my best. Like I'll try and go back through some of my own streams and kind of clip some of the more important parts, so that it's available for you guys to just like go over and not have to like search through hours of a stream. I'll do my best to do that with the time that I have. But yeah, I'm gonna also be putting some of my theories into like the stories on YouTube. I do find that it's like a much easier route to like relay some information, and just kind of playing around with it at the moment. So just be on the lookout for those, and I might open up my TikTok again just for that sort of stuff. So if interested, be on the lookout. If not, I'll see you when I see you. Thank you guys for tuning in. It is now time for me to go eat and just cause havoc. So you guys stay safe, stay out the way. If I do not see you over the weekend, I hope you guys have a great... What day is it? Hold up, before I say anything. 23rd? Yeah. I hope you guys have a great holiday or holidays. And I will see you when I see you. You guys stay safe, stay out the way. This has been Jackals to go. You either know or you don't.